as his instruction, or chant Hare Krishna during the last breath of your life, uh, or simply seeing the photo of Lord Shri Krishna. Many devotees, try to bring Shalagram Shila and put on the head of uh, the devotee who is going to leave the body. Srila Prabhupada's chanting is always there, the jukebox or little box under the pillow of the patient, many things that we try to imply. But at what extent are we trying in our life? If we are doing for somebody else's life, he's fortunate, but who is going to do for us? So we need to look into this particular, situation more deeply, more seriously, and convincingly, yes, because Corona came by surprise. Death is also coming by surprise. And we may have so many other thoughts, even related to Krishna conscious thoughts, but not remembering him at all. We may say that, oh, there are so many things which is called Krishna conscious, but Krishna says, Mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. My remembrance, So, so madbhavam jati, he will attain. Bhavam means nature. Consciousness is the symptom of the internal potency of the Lord, not external potency of the Lord. But we have misused this consciousness through our senses and sense perception with the material objects. So we have been hooked up by bondage subtly and grossly in sense gratification. So the consciousness is having the spiritual origin, and that we try to engage all the senses. Sevanam mukhehi jivado swayam sparatyamevadya. Our senses, otherwise we made it blunt. We made our senses so blunt by interacting with material objects for sense enjoyment, that the consciousness was thus polluted. And chanting Hare Krishna will purify the consciousness. But we have met so many obstacles and ignorance about the efficacy of the holy name. Then anarthas are there, working like cloud, not letting this sun of the holy name shine through our heart. And aparadas are dense, dark, ignorant objects that are blocking our vision altogether. So, otherwise, Haridas Thakur said, faith alone on the holy name can make everything possible. Faith alone on the holy name. That is the efficient method to become Krishna conscious. So the energy that is flowing within our senses is spiritual in nature, which is called consciousness. But due to the contact with the object of material nature, which is made up of three modes of material nature, our consciousness is said to be polluted, right? So we have to fundamentally think, how are we chanting? How consciously are we chanting? How are we engaging our sense in the service of the holy name? all five senses. Japa beads are given for controlling all the five senses. The clicker does not do the job. That japa beads does the job. All sense of touch, sense of smell, sense of taste, sense of speech, or in that sense, and the sense of hearing. All the five senses are engaged in chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra with the bead, not with the clicker. And therefore, bead is more preferable. It is not an orthodox methodology, but you have to engage your senses in serving the holy name. Then and then you become more and more conscious. Your senses are going to engage in the loving service of the Lord, and then they will be spiritualized. They will be able to perceive the meaning of the mercy of the holy name that he will depend upon. So in this way, our chanting has to be concentrated without any, impurities, without any of these situations that has been, artificially by our previous habits have been created. So, antakale cha mamev. Eva means only one. Mam eva, nobody else. Smaran muktva. Smaran means remembrance. Uktva, by words. Kalevaram, giving up the body. So yati madbhavam. He will come to my nature, the transcendental nature. There is no doubt in it. When your external senses are spiritualized, internal senses are spiritualized, your spiritual, the senses are becoming spiritual in contact with the holy name. There is a very uniform situation. Otherwise, when the body is now going to become dead, the soul has to pass through any of the 9 gates. It is best that the soul should pass through the mouth or the eyes, the upper part, not the other part. So either listening or chanting, remembering is very important. This process has been nicely described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that there are the first 3 aspects of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam belongs to the holy name, and one must become acquainted with the Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. First is hearing, second is chanting, and third is remembering, right? So this sequential understanding will become a very, very foundational understanding, which will take us to further and further purification. More fundamentally understanding the foundational process, that is of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, will become more effective, even at the later stage. So this is said to be at least obtained through authorized process in the first initiation. First initiation depends on Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. All right? The second initiation will require archanam, vandanam, pujanam. The deity worship will be the next to make it more practical, applicatory processes of what we have learned in the Shastra. And that, and the third one is, you know, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Padasevanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam is the third section. That will be when, after the second initiation, when one becomes completely acquainted with the transcendental nature, our association, our selection to whom to associate will become more and more, clarified at the advanced stage. Because we want to advance, we have to take association of the advanced devotees. How to find out advance? It depends upon what's your interest and how much advanced you want to become. Krishna will send an appropriate person to you. It means you don't have to go out, but naturally you will be attracted to a similar likeliness with a devotee who is of the same category. So such advancing aspect has to be understood. So the second initiation and there is no need for sannyas unless you want to go and preach. And that will be only through the order of Guru and not anybody. Because in sannyas committee, we also discuss so many things, and so many things are required. We even consider the horoscope into account. Initially, there is no need. Prabhupada never, but I think there are cases, and we can get a good guideline even through the horoscope, about what difficulty he might come across, and this and that. So anyway, the point is we need to before we leave, try to cover everything possible and make every possible advancement, So then and then we will remain equipped with the remembrance, and we will be able to overcome. We have to pass the life knowingly. We cannot afford to pass life in ignorance, unknowingly. There are so many cases when we were bombarded with the question when Krishna Maharaj left the body in accident. Why this way? Why Maharaj? All this bombardment, I have faced because I had the ticket to come to United States. My mother was, in East Orange VA hospital, and she had to undergo heart valve replacement as well as bypass surgery. It's a double job, and they were waiting for me to come and give them clearance. The doctors were, so much thinking of that. So that was in 2002. On 15th of March, Krishna Maharaj passed away. And the same day I had to leave via Singapore. And because Krishna Maharaj passed away early morning, right after Tulsi Puja, which I was leading, and Mayapur. And it so happened that devotees were very much perplexed. There were no direct answers because they think what will happen to the soul. you know. And it came across that, well, Krishna, uh, who is the center focus point of every devotee's life. They try to serve him, uh, and only medium for recognition of a devotee is through the service he rendered. And even in the last moment, if you cannot remember, Prabhupada would say that, if you cannot remember Krishna, Krishna will remember you. Now, who would you want to depend upon? And that exactly the situation is. It's because devotional service is a reciprocatory thing. It is not one way. If we are in the situation very clumsy, not to respond, not to open up our mouth, even it happens within a flick of second, like the accidental death that Maharaj faced it, and he passed away almost immediately. We received the news as soon as I finished the Tulsi Puja, and announcement was there, and everybody was in very shocked situation. The first one was to get out was Shivram Maharaj. He jumped and took up a taxi and ran to the place of accident, and others followed him. So it was such a critical thing. And but when I reached to Singapore, they already arranged for me to speak and address to his disciples, who were completely in shock. And they made me stop over because to get a flight, it will be the next day. So the whole 10 hour or more in the night, they were waiting for me. And I had to give 2 classes after I reached Singapore. And devotees' hearts were so much devastated, so much devastated. But then I remember that Prabhupada has said this, don't worry, you are an honest devotee. If you did not utter the word Krishna, you are not at loss, because so far you have rendered the devotional service. And Krishna remembers everything. Didn't he tell to Arjun, Bahuni te vyatitani janmani tavacha Arjuna? When Krishna told Arjun, do not remember your past? I remember everything. That natvevaham jatunasham natvam neme janadhipa nat chaiva bhavishyama sarve vayamata param. Our eternal nature is there. And Arjun was more perplexed. How do I know, my dear Lord Krishna, that you were existing before? Then Krishna responds, you and I, we are individuals. We have passed so many lives like this. So I remember everything. And not only for you, for all the uncountable number of the living entities who are but my part and parcel. I remember each and everything. So such a mastermind is there who will register everything, whatever we do, without the aid of computer. Computer is a little toy for children just to, and our children are mastering these gadgets very easily than even me. I'm very, illiterate, computer illiterate. So anyway, the point is that remembrance will depend upon Krishna. Mercy will depend upon Krishna. Everything will depend upon Krishna. So how much dependency we would have through all purified senses, all the five senses. So therefore, chanting should be done as a service to Lord Shri Krishna's holy name, and then the holy name will be, by its own mercy, Swayam Spuratyam Eva Adyaha. Otherwise, our blunt senses, if we try to think, estimate, or become reasonable in our so-called limited experience of this worldliness, Krishna says, forget this experience out of asat, and you cannot use them in, uh, in remembering me. Hmm? We are told to give up the asatsanga chadi re Vaishnava achar. Vaishnava should reject everything that is asat, utilize in service of Krishna, even though temporarily it will become permanent credit for devotional service. So we have to depend upon Krishna, Krishna's holy name, and just wait. As a recipient of mercy, we have to simply wait and wait. How long wait? Uh, it is beyond the estimation. Uh, well, our life is short, so we can say reasonably that we don't have to wait for Krishna's mercy much, uh, because immediately we will be promoted and the next opportunity will be given. So, in the terms of eternity, our chances in Krishna consciousness arises more for success. So why don't we take wholeheartedly Krishna consciousness, not as a part-time job, not as this way, that way, but and engage in 24 hours a day in Lord Shri Krishna's remembrance, that is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, and make our progress further, become a regular devotee, then become an advanced devotee, like that. It is a progressive path. We can't just stay being religious is good enough. No, this is not a religious process. This is called spiritual process. In religiosity, piety will be earned, but in spiritual process, you know, uh, not only liberation, but uh, forward journey back home, back to Godhead is opened up. So we need to, understand little deeply about making our life successful. So will be taken care by Krishna in any way, you know, in any way. So, ye yatha mam prapadyante tamstatheva bhajamyaham. Krishna reciprocates according to our offering of devotional service. Krishna will offer us and the results of the devotional service, that is Krishna Prem. But before achieving Krishna Prem, liberation is there, engagement is there to interact with him, on different levels are there. So one has to at least take up this journey with marching on, just like Gopakumar took, in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. It is a wonderful reading matter to help us encourage how to remember the Lord. Because only remembering this Mahamantra, which is helping us to, to worship the form of the Lord. The holy name generates the form of the Lord. And worshipping the holy name and the form of the Lord will generate the divine qualities which are absolutely necessary, that replaces the material qualities of Sattva Gun, Rajogun, and Tamogun, and will establish on the transcendental plan. Then worshipping with the holy name, the form of the Lord, and divine qualities, will be able to uh, make further progress to go back home, back to Godhead, and Krishna will then introduce us uh, to his family already there. And you will be welcome to become part of his family. That is the nature uh, of our journey, going back home, back to Godhead. Uh, and for devotee, and uh, generally there are no hard and fast rule, even in chanting. So there are no hard and fast rules, even after the sincerity and seriousness of the process is established in the heart of the devotee. And when he makes tangible progress in advancing and takes up responsibility to serve Krishna and the Guru, and then one can make uh, very, very steady progress, without taking up service from Guru for Krishna. you know, uh, the things will not be understood. Means, even if we do not know, uh, uh, we should not be worried about the risk factor of this particularly job that to be undertaken. You know, like the simplest order of Guru to Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj said, if you have money, print the books. So simple, but it was so sublime that we can see the result within our lifetime. How Prabhupada established the transcendental, process all over the world without anything. He had nothing but 40 rupees worth of $8 at that time. He had some books, and he already carried some ration, from India that might have lasted him about a month or so, and he might have finished that in Butler. So the idea is that it doesn't require anything, but it can create the whole thing, which is just like a miracle. Uh, Krishna is one, and he can become many. Eko Bahushyam. So one will manifest in many things and will offer you many, many varieties of services. He is the one who is to be served, but the services are so many of varieties. If you have to remember his qualities, remember. If you have to remember his form, you should remember. But this is all on the transcendental basis. All of his aspects are uh, transcendental manifestation, and there are varieties. Uh, and because our desires are also varieties of varieties, and these desires are coming from his internal potency, not from external potency. Original desire for enjoyment was there when we were one with him and serving so faithfully. Uh, but ichha dvesha samuthena dvanda mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge anti parantapa. The two factors, ichha and dvesh, screwed us up, and uh, we fell into creation, sustenance, and dissolution. So that is a compulsory thing. So just try to convert that ichha uh, uh, into Krishna's ichha. All right? Our desire should be converted into Krishna's desires. See if it is matching or not. If it is not matching, you change And Krishna is showing you what does he like, his desire. And dvesh, if you want to have dvesh, just engage your dvesh with the samsara. You don't have to give up dvesh, but you have to reject samsara, because you are not of samsara. Material nature makes compulsory to give up the body. Jatasya hi dhruvam mrityam janma dhruvam mritasya cha. The one which is born is destined to die. And the one that has died is destined to come up again. And that is the material nature of the body. And that's why the scientific dependency upon on the life depends upon another life. Jivo jivasya jivanam. One life is so that is the allotted time. But real life is with Krishna, where there is no jivo jivasya jivanam. So the eternal principle of our nature has to manifest. How long can we subside? In other form of lives, we have subsided it because we did not have enough intelligence. But now we are given more passionate nature to explore our own intelligence and make it on the mode of rajogun to some sattvagun. And then you will become calm, controlled, and you will be able to understand the difference between. So physical existence is there, then there is spiritual existence is there. The physical existence depends upon mode of material natures. Okay, Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamagun. But Brahma is predominantly in mode of passion, so he has been avatar of mode of passion. And that is Gunavatar, and his job is to simply create from whatever Krishna has already created. But his creation was unique. That was the ultimate design. But man doesn't have something to create, but yet, because he has been given more Rajoguna, therefore he is number 4 creator. The demigods are in between Brahma and us. They are also creating that. The Danavas, Maya Danav can create wonderful, buildings and other things. So creation, capacity of creation is in the higher species of life. The number 9th is this karma para pravrittis of mode of passion that is in human being, and the demigods and demons, they all have their own creations, but they are tertiary creation. Avarth is number 4. Secondary, that is Visarga, is Brahma, and Sarga is Krishna. So whatever Krishna has created, we are recreating and recreating and recreating. But that is not our function. Our function has been very well defined by a discriminating faculty called intelligence. Called intelligence. And intelligence is said to be closer to our soul, our super soul, than mind. And yet we are obsessed with the mind. Indriyani para rahu indriyabhya param manah manasastu paror buddhe buddhestu sa eva para. the senses are subtler than the gross body, right? But subtler than the senses is the mind, but subtler than the mind is the intelligence, and subtler than the intelligence is the soul. So we have to use our intelligence to discriminate for the soul, what is good and what is bad, not the mind. Mind should not have any excess. Uh, Therefore, it is important to control it. So all this process has been told, it's a lifetime process to come to a conclusive aspect that if we are not the bodies, then our cognizance should be on the soul, and we are insignificant part and parcel of the Lord, because the Lord has invited us uh, and recognized this particular fact. And he is becoming smaller than smallest, like the jiva. He becomes within the heart of the jiva as Paramatma, and become facilitator for so all our desires can be fulfilled. So in any case, remembrance, smarana, is the key point. Mm. Satatam smartavyam Vishnu vismartavyam na jatu chit sarva vidhi nishedasyu etayoreva kinkara. Uh, all these other processes of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Pujanam, Padasevanam, Dasyam, these are all different processes, but they depend upon the remembrance of Krishna. So as long as we live, it is our only duty that yena kena prakarena mana Krishnam niveshayet. It is not a temporary job. It has to be permanent. Think of Krishna. Uh, Even while eating, think of Krishna. Ma manasmara yuddhacha. If you are fighting, think of Krishna. Smara is one time, but anusmara means repeatedly. Repeatedly. So in this way, we will be able to, you know, uh, reach to the desired goal of life. Uh, we try our best to be saturated with Krishna consciousness uh, by remembrance, uh, then by other activities. So all the other activities of the 9 processes are supposed to be subservient for remembering Krishna. So we have to make our departure knowingly, just like Bhishma Pitaman. He made his life successful, just like even Rishabdev. He was an avatar Shakti, yet, how he merged all the elemental constitute of his body into the origin of that, you know. Then last dissolvement was the Mahatattva, uh, made up of mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Bhishma Pitama also merged all that aspect, and then he was transcendently situated, and then he got his engagement as Vasu, one of the chief Vasus, 8 Vasus, uh, in service of Lord Narayan. So he knew Krishna was the origin, therefore he asked Krishna to show him his 400 form. All right. So in this way, um, uh, all this study that we have been doing systematically just to remember Krishna, how in the time of difficulty, remembrance of Krishna is also told. Uh, even the Gajendra Moksha, his moksha was dependent upon the remembrance of Krishna of the previous life. So unless there is remembrance in the wild animals also, how they recognize their master, it is, just like that. We have to come out from the wildness of material life and remember our master. If animals can do this, they become example, why not we? So we have been given this very sweet process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and be happy. Uh, you know, happiness is the ultimate goal, but happiness is uh, not one-way track. Uh, you know, so. Anybody has any question?
Dear devotees, if you have any question, either you can type in the chat box or just raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes.
Ram Sharan Prabhu, please go ahead. If you can turn on your video, would be great too. Go ahead. You're on mute, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Prabhupada. Thank you, Maharaj, for a wonderful class. Maharaj, I had this question since long time. That you nicely described that we need to use the five senses while chanting. I can understand the eyes, ears, tongue, and the touch, but I'm just wondering how we use the nose, the smelling.
Well, Tulsi doesn't have any smell. You are a pujari, right? You do your deity worship with fragrant oils, and instead of putting it, we are given nirmalya to smell, but the tulsi also bears the smell. So it may be little lesser in the sense that, but sense of smell is to be used in service of Krishna. You remember the worship of Tulsi. Tulsi herself is pure devotee of the Lord. So we need to apply whatever is, is vibhuti of Lord Krishna, prithvyo gandavyam. I'm the fragrance of earth. Right? So, and therefore incense stick is being used as a representative of the smell being offered in the arti. What do you offer? All the five Panchamahabhut, right? And even in the arti, air is there, water is there, Agni is there, and then the ether. Ether means what? Space. But the space is where you do not have to have wind or air to be removed. You use chamar. Chamar is not funny. What Prabhupada said, if somebody asked a question to Srila Prabhupada, why do you use this chamar, white chamar? Because after all, you are using fan, so the purpose should be served. Prabhupada says the chamar is used to make the flies go away. Means inauspicious things have to be removed by offering chamar. And that's why Mother Yashoda also used the cow tail and circumambulate around Krishna, baby Krishna, when Lord Shiva came to have darshan. Because Lord Shiva was very fearful and snakes are there. Yashoda told, no, Baba, you go, my child will be afraid of you. And he will start crying. It will be difficult for me to keep him, contained. So, no. He says, no, I'm a great devotee of your child. You do not understand. Please. He was pleading like anything. So Yashoda said, okay, Baba, you just wait and I will just show you his face and cover it immediately. Agreed? And he says, agreed. So she brought Krishna and have darshan. And Lord Shiva went into trance and danced. And Yashoda ran away from taking Krishna, went at the backyard and held the tail of one of the cows in the backyard and circumambulated. To fly off the inauspicious things or bad omens or bad eyes, if somebody has bad thought, it comes from the space. So naturally, the charmer has to be waved as an auspicious thing to remove the inauspicious aspect. Prabhupada said to let the flies go away, you use charmer. And the person was convinced that was. So all the five senses have to be utilized in service of Krishna, service of the holy name. How much smell do you need after all? More you try to smell, you'll forget the sense at all. You will not find any difference. It will be normal because your olfactory nerves, the nerves in your nose will become completely covered up. So little smell is required, which is appreciated. The tulsi leaves, and these are tulsi beads. Why only tulsi beads we have to chant? Because she is the best example of being a devotee. If tulsi leaves can make 4 Kumaras devotees, why not tulsi bead and remembrance the significance of Lord Tulsi, the fragrance of tulsi? When you chant tulsi beads, then they become shiny because there is oil in tulsi. So it becomes so smooth. Any other question?
Thank you.
Gopal going, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for giving your association and the wonderful class, Nectarian class. Hare Krishna. I have 2 questions, Maharaj, regarding the chanting. We get distracted while chanting, and it's natural. However, best we try, we get distracted. So, what should be our prayer when we are chanting to stay focused? That's one question. And
it should not be separate prayer, but remember what Krishna said about when the senses are distracted in Bhagavad Gita. Shanai Shanai Upadrita Grihitaya. The way it goes away from one of the windows or one of the senses, the mind should be pulled back. Try to pull back. And this constant nagging and drawing back of that particular senses to remember. That is a very good practice. You know, practice makes one perfect. So you will remember. First of all, you will be able to recognize that from which window the mind has escaped. You must have kept it open. That's why. Huh? There are 5 windows. 5 senses are 5 windows. So, abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya gamina. Abhyasa, the practice has to be in that way. So if you try, you know, uh, obstinately, because mind is obstinate, you have to become obstinate. You have to try. But I think we are very compassionate on our senses. So what can we do? Okay, we can't tell, you know, okay, don't do it next time, please. It's just like mother who is so sentimental for the child's mischief. No. Lalane bahavo dosha, tadane bahavo guna, tasmat putram cha shishyam cham tadayat natu lalayat. Isn't it? So we have to treat our mind like our child. It's a restless child. But you take the charge of the mind. What was the second question?
Second question, Maharaj, more towards the class. In the class, you had references of remembrance. So just came to my mind that in Bhagavad Gita, we hear that Janma Karma Chametebhyam. So remembering Krishna's pastimes and all. So I'm requesting that please explain that how do we take that Divyam part of that Krishna's pastime?
All right. Divya means divine. Divya means divine. Divine means spiritual. If it is not spiritual in nature, then it is not divine. You know, but janma and karma, these are two important things that we have to uh, understand how Krishna is appearing. Sambhavami Atma Maya. That is the principle. Uh, uh, then karma divyam means superhuman activities. It means it's not humanly possible. Uh, he can do in the sense that he can lift Govardhan. He doesn't need even a pinky because he is the master of all mystics. If he is alone, the creator, sustainer, and dissolver, then why not? Any commandment they will have to obey, right? When such uh, aspects of spirituality is to be understood, that Govardhan is also personality, and that's why we are told that Mahavishnu wanted to enter into these pastimes with Lord Krishna. All right. So he requested Krishna, and Krishna says, yes, you can appear as Govardhan. Similarly, Brahma wanted, so Brahmachal, where Radharani will be residing at that, in Barsana. Brahma has 4 heads, so there are 4 peaks of this Brahmachal. Vrishabhan, Bhanagad, Managad, Danagad, and Vilasgad. These 4 peaks are there. And devotees concentrate on this, as a place also which is in connection with Krishna. So, and lastly, Mahadev also wanted. So, okay, Mahadev, you become Nandeshwar Mahadev. But the Mahadev has also many expansions. So in this way, Krishna arranged for everyone to engage in that capacity. So he can, and they were all happy to interact spiritually. Now, what is the difference between matter and spirit? Consciousness is the only difference. Now, we have consciousness in a dead matter. Panchamahabhut matter is dead matter. So don't you think that even Panchamahabhut are there in a mountain or a rock or a piece of a chitkana, means doesn't have consciousness, that kind of particle. But in particular theory, they said there is dynamism within an atom because electrons are moving around nucleus. Now, where is this dynamism came? And dynamism, they want to, find out God particle, the Higgs boson. You heard about it, right? The big experiment that took place about 6 years back in the Switzerland. Geneva was the headquarters, and the whole tunnel that they put up, the what they call, oh,
It's a Big Bang theory.
yes, Big Bang theory, but Big Bang is very primitive. But Satyendranath Basu and Dr. Higgs, they were two scientists given, the Nobel Prize to postulate about God particle. And Prabhupada writes about this God particle because this Nobel Prize was given to previously for a theoretical assessment of the particular theory. Two American scientists were given, and Prabhupada wrote the first book, Is He Journey to Other Planets? And then first page, the article that was published for the Nobel Prize winning on this subject matter, Prabhupada is commenting. The very first page, an easy journey to other planets. Open up and you will be surprised that what is this anti-particular theory that has been developed. And there were 2,500 scientists, and out amongst them, about more than 300 scientists were from India participating. The scientists who are heading the departments of this particular theory in San Diego University and other Californian university. There were big minds behind this, and because Indians are adept to any field of expertise, and they can become master. They have fertile brain, but it is all somewhere in Satyendranath Basu. That is boson, they call it, and the articles are there. You Google, you Google this hadron collider, what is called super hadron collider in Geneva, and just Google it, and you will get all entire article. They have conception of God, and the Hindu belief of Nataraj Lord Shiva is there. right in their first, okay, you got it, but you don't have photograph of it. Are Baba, Hadron Collider, you should have photograph of it. Hmm. Ah. Go on YouTube. Here, and there is in Geneva the reception hall. It is so high. There is a 20 feet high Nataraj, statue has been set up. It's metal. They are doing all this experiment to split the atom by electron bombardment, and they split and they capture on the high-speed camera. And they got some of the, uh, uh, particles. There were several Higgs boson, so they were more confused. And they are anti-particle. They behave exactly like opposite to the material particle by qualities. So this is their, estimation. But they call it God particle, Higgs boson, and they want to put up the theory that they are the founder of God. But unfortunately, they can't reach. It is baffling them more and more, right? But the point is this, that consciousness is not there. The characteristics of uh, Chitkan. Chitkan means conscious particle. Is the Atma. And Kathopanishad is giving that theory. But the entire theory, atomic theory, was written by Vyasadev's disciple called Kanad Rishi. He was the mastermind, and this literature they are using, these scientists are using. What is a Kan? Chitkan, conscious particle. They are working on the dead particle. That particle cannot respond on its own, but yet there are supercharged particles like uranium and other, that emanate, similar energies. But regardless, there are two worlds, Chit and Achit. So when we are talking of Chit, we have to concentrate on the characteristics of the Chit particle. So Krishna will be known through the sample, but Krishna reveals that himself, means he is going to become exposed first to us. Then by his mercy, we will be able to see that our particle nature. And that is the process, what we have taken up by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Vidyate Radaya Granthi Chendyanti Sarva Samshaya Kshiyante Chasya Karmani Drashta Evatmanishware. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the 5 slokas that are describing us the Bhagavad Dharma, Prabhupada gave the series of lectures on Bhagavad Dharma. Shronatam Swakatham Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayanthasya Badrani Vidunoti Surit Satam Nashta Prayashu Abhedreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Tada Rajastamo Bhava Kama Lobhadayaschaye Chetayate Anaviddam Sthitam Sattve Prasidati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Vidyate Hridaya Granthi Chendyanti Sarva Samshaya Kshiyante Chasya Karmani Drashta Evatmani Ishvare. What is unscientific? Tell me. We have been fooled by so-called material science. Otherwise, how is it Then I was a scientist, I gave up easily. I'd served New Jersey. How many? 72, say. 72 to 79, I retired. I resigned in I think, month of April itself. I was working in East Orange VA Hospital. They gave me one paper in research also. I still have that left in New Vrindavan. I have some storage space there. So the point is that we need to realize Divyam, the divine nature, which is entire material nature. And entire material nature is still existing in a achit kana, the dead material particle. So can't you call Vindhyachal the chief of all the mountains, the king of mountains? Isn't it a personality? Energy field is there. Energy is the what you call the aspect that shows some power, strength, or whatever it is. One of the opulences of Krishna. But this energy can also have ultimate personality. We are energy, isn't it? Yet we have assumed personality. And we cannot say Govardhan is not a personality or Vindhyachal is not a personality. How can we say? Everything has to be justified. So, what is a personality? Personality is being formed by quality and energy. Qualities are supposed to bind up energy to make a person. Otherwise, why do we say Ishvara Parama Krishna Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha? Sat Chit Ananda, these are the three intrinsic qualities of the divine nature. And Vigraha means the personality. The body has so many names, and here we are given Vigraha means that it can respond to sentient feelings. That means life. Even a small amoeba can respond to external stimulus. This is called a scientific definition of consciousness. One that responds to external stimulus. Now they say coronavirus is not a live organism. But nonetheless, it is made up of RNA origin, ribonucleic acid origin, right? And they have so many amino acids, and they are self-replicating, and everything is there. And that's why it is spreading. We are so vulnerable, our life system is so vulnerable on, dead matter. Do you think it is worthy to exist in this material world? Prabhupada said, if you are a gentleman, this material world is not for you. You must get out from here. Where will you go? The best choice is go back home, back to Godhead, where you have come from. Lessen your struggle. Don't increase. That is intelligence. All right.
Maharaj, હજી બે question છે, તમે લઈ શકો?
બોલો.
Okay, Swati Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandot Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you
Yes.
so much
Hari
for the
Bolo.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. Maharaj, you asked a question in the class. You said that how many of you are, doing Krishna consciousness part-time, or have you taken it up full-time? So my question was, Maharaj, while being bound by your household duties, by family, commitments, by work commitments, I've also heard you should not give it up prematurely till you're mature in bhakti. So how can we take up Krishna consciousness full-time?
Increase the desire for Krishna consciousness. So a time will come when you will get frustrated from all the physical, oppositions. Is it? If we decrease our material engagement, then naturally we'll have to increase spiritual engagement. Mm. So we cannot do artificially, we cannot do artificially. As a housewife, you may be working, but is it necessary? Prabhupada said the simple life of every woman should be to raise Krishna conscious kids in time. And it's the greatest service to be rendered. There is no other service is that important. But we may, because uh, if we make a calculated risk, okay, I have this time much given to me. Okay, I will try to do, but then I will put up a limit there. And the mind, this kind of ideas are always coming, all right? But if we are entangled, then we keep on extending. If we are not entangled, then you will say, let the burden go off. I want to become liberated. Now, in other sense, that everybody has to be selfish about Krishna consciousness. That is your self-interest anyway, everyone's. Even children who does not know, you have to impart it. So real selfishness is Krishna consciousness. All right? And after all, the life is temporary. So keep a calculated time. Otherwise, Krishna has given calculated time period. Retirement will be there. So whatever the residual energy you have for the rest of the life, utilize best in Krishna consciousness. But if you think, there are so many entanglements and attachments are there, how to get rid of this, you have to put up an intelligent limit, Maryada, for your own welfare. Devahuti did it, isn't it? She has 9 daughters, but she wanted to get liberated because she was well educated by her father, Manu Maharaj. So that is the real intelligence for self-preservation, rather than live a life of slavery of ignorance. The mind's desire also makes us slave, like that. So you have been intelligent, you have to put up a calculated risk. And, take that much needed, or take that much borrowed strength from some other, like an employer or your husband or somebody who would be helpful to you. But it's an entanglement. Nothing is free. You have to pay it off, right? So what to speak of our eternal obligation, that all this lifetime we have, been borrowing the energy of the Lord and we never repaid anything. So we want to reduce the what do we call obligations. Krishna is life giver. He gave us everything, and we are not obliged to him at all. Then how can we will remember him at the time of death? You know? So real intelligence is on real thing. Otherwise, a borrowed, businessman on a borrowed cannot become ever happy. He will be always called indebtor. And indebtor is a compulsive indebtor like a gambler. You cannot make money on a borrowed property, borrowed. While by becoming fully Krishna conscious, all the obligations are gone, because we have to estimate Krishna's obligations, the life giver. He gave opportunities. How many times? 8.4 million times the opportunity to come back in this existence, and but we never remember. On the human form of life, we are made to remember him through Bhagavad Gita. He has to come and remind us. Otherwise, we are ever to be unworthy and unobligated nature. How can we ever live peacefully in this material world? Okay. Another
Thank you.
question?
Jai Draupadi Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj Ji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Ji, I have question. Like Bhishma Pitama has had Ichha Mrityu Vardhan, right? So like he waited for the time period. For a neophyte devotees, how should we take that? Yeah, Uttarayan and Dakshinayan, if something happens in Dakshinayan, so how should we take that?
Our forefathers were much more Krishna conscious than us. I remember mother of my grandmother, I was told that she prepared her deathbed herself, she lit a lamp and kept, on the head side and told everybody, do not cry, I'm going. That is it not Ichamurti Mrityu? Almost like Ichamurti. When you know that the time is coming. But here, for the sake of Bhishma Pitama, that he could not do the job while he was being the guardian. He wanted to remember Lord Shri Krishna and the fondness of his disciples, the Pandavas as friends. He is extolling the nature of Lord Krishna's compassionate nature, nature of compassion of Lord Shri Krishna towards his dearmost devotees. So, to glorify Lord Shri Krishna and his devotees, it is the prime preparation before one should leave the body. You know, Srila Prabhupada also said, I might have offended so many. You know, please tell my God brothers that I beg their forgiveness. You know, like that. So that is like Ichamrityu, that we know that we may not be able to survive. So what we have to remember, because Krishna has a nature of remembering everything. Why don't we remember that we might have hurt somebody? At least on that level of, you know, being, you know, compassionate and go without any offense. Without any offense. So begging forgiveness from the devotees and everyone is the best method to ease off the obligations. Otherwise, you know, in the struggle that Srila Prabhupada had to even acquire this Krishna Balaram temple property in Vrindavan, they were quite skirmishes, you know, and uh, some famous people, I mean, sadhus were, you know, trying to grab, and Prabhupada was completely angry, you know, and told, you know, very heavy against them. That means, but he remembers that. I hope that Mataji, who he had told so strong words about her, please forgive me. You know, I'm begging forgiveness from everyone. So I will go empty-hearted, you know, not keeping any ties. Otherwise, obligations will be there. Those who are trying to do favor, and if we do not remember, you know, then it is called disgruntled situations. So at the time of death, so many things will come in front of us, you know, whether are we fulfilling the desire of the Lord. By fulfilling the desire of every devotee, the Lord will become happy. So a devotee doesn't have any enmity with anybody, you know, ever to be left, because that is the offense-free position. That is divine. So Ichamrityu doesn't mean that because his father told, yes, he is giving that, but Ichamrityu means whenever he desires, he will leave the body. So his job was completed by instructing Yudhishthira Maharaj. His job was perfected by Lord Shri Krishna to show him the 400 form. So his desires were fulfilled, you know. That is more important for Bhishma Pitama than to take the vow of celibacy and vow to kill the one of the Pandavas, otherwise he will be killed, like that. So he will break the promise of Lord Krishna, you know. He will make Krishna break his promise to save. So these are the moods of devotional service, you know, with that is Shaurya Ras is a Gauna Ras, but Bhishma Pitama was desiring and acting, and Krishna reciprocated, you know. So that is the glorification that he did in his prayers to Lord Krishna, Bhishma's prayers, then instructed Yudhishthir in the matter of ruling the kingdom, remembered the family whom he tried to protect indirectly, but so many atrocities. And he was especially very compassionate to remember Kunti, because uh, she suffered the most, according to him. So a devotee, will remember the devotees only. He never remembered Duryodhan. He never remembered Dhritarashtra. He never remembered any damn people on the cover of side. But he remembered only the Pandavas and Shri Krishna. Okay? So that is a remembrance. Ichha means it's not that I have been just holding my breath, even though the whole body was penetrated by these sharp arrows. He has to leave the body. But appropriate time was there after the war was over. Otherwise, Bhishma Pitama fell on 8th day. I think 8th day or 6th day, something is like that. And then for the rest of the 10 days, he was on the deathbed. All right.
મહારાજ હજી એક હાથ ઉપર ગયો છે, તમે લઈ શકો તો ઠીક, નહીં તો કઈ વાંધો નહીં.
બોલો ભાઈ, ઘણે વર્ષે આવ્યો છો તો પછી
તમે મળ્યા હશો માધવી સીતાને વર્ષો પહેલા ઘરે આવેલા ત્યારે, પણ કદાચ હવે yes, she's taken. The son is also 18 now.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Maharaj Ji. Very, very fortunate to have you back with us, and especially on this very auspicious day. And એટલું સર એટલે nectar સાંભળવાનો chance મળ્યો is like good fortune of us. I actually raised my hand. I don't have a question, but I just wanted to thank that I got out very, very nice points from this lecture. It's like a food for thought, and I'm going to meditate on it and try to apply it. Just to mention few points, like you mentioned about how we should align all our senses with our chanting. So that was very, very helpful. Second point was that you mentioned we have to be very, very careful in with our association, with our thought process, everything, especially when we are especially second initiates. And very important point struck me is that you mentioned about we don't have to be religious, but we should be it should be a spiritual process. We cannot remain religious all throughout our life, but it should be spiritual. We'll gain only piety if we remain religious, but to go ahead rapidly on path of devotion or closer to Krishna, we have to be spiritualized. So that was very, very important, I felt. And another point was that how holy name generates form of the Lord, and it helps develop all the good qualities within us that help us move closer to Krishna. And also you mentioned about Ma Manusmara Yuddha Cha. Krishna said that repeatedly, over and over, remember me, not just one. So these are the few points I really liked, and I'm going to it's a food for thought for me. So thank you very much, Maharaj, for giving your association time, and please come again and bless us with your association.
I don't know. Ramchandra Prabhu does not call me that often. I don't know where did he go.
Yeah. My mother-in-law is also on the call. I think Samartha che tamaru lecture. think she was also on call. It's just
Maharaj used to visit us quite often, so we are blessed. But I have two questions for all the devotees on the on the call. Would you like to have Maharaj again?
What?
Haribol.
See, Maharaj, here is a proof. Everybody, isn't it? And and this is our first special because Ekadashi fell on a weekend. So whenever it falls on a weekend, weekdays is difficult. Did you like after Japa call have a invite a senior devotee and have such program whenever it falls on weekend?
You are favoring Corona.
All are favoring, Maharaj is asking.
Now you are favoring Corona because you think that I should not travel. That's why I can be on the Zoom all the time.
So we hope and pray that Maharaj, as soon as Corona subsides, that Maharaj can visit us and we get a chance to serve him and host him also.
All right.
And when you visit Vrindavan, we can look out and see if Maharaj is available and he can take his blessings as well.
Karthik with the best. And Karthik and after Mayapur, I'll be there for some time. Then
Maharaj, this question always is there on devotees that Karthik is during a time where if their parents, they have schools and otherwise work. So how can they take time off and maybe just come for a few days, right?
Well, Prabhupada made it compulsory for the devotees to come because some part of our life we must serve the Dham. So it is in alignment with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's request that our process is depending on, Aradhyastanaya Vrajendra Nandana Tadhamam Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidapasana Vrajavardhana Jana Kalpita, then Srimad Bhagavatam Amala Puranam Sri Chaitanya Matamidam Anyatha Natatuko Nadat yeah, so these are five parts of that we must change our life.
Maharaj, there's one question I missed. It was in the chat box. I'm just checking right now. And it was that, one second, Rukwati, I'm not able to open the chat box. Just give me 1 second. The question was, how is anger in the spiritual world different from anger in the material world? Could you please explain through an example?
Add transcendence in anger. When you want to angry with Krishna, then you will have to follow in the footsteps of Radharani. Only she can, do that, Mana Lila. And Krishna can tolerate. I don't think Krishna can tolerate our so-called anger and try to think that, oh well, Krishna, I was showing transcendental anger on you. No, because the divine potencies of Ladini Shakti is very little in us. Because the soul is spiritual, therefore three spiritual potencies would be there. Ladini Shakti is very little. Generally, by our gross appearance in the material world, we have occupied a good amount of space, and our hankering ownership of the space and the material surface is increasing and increasing, right? So anything that occurs, it cannot be satisfying to our own self. So how come we are able to convert that into the transcendental anger? It is, I think, wishful thinking. But in Brahma's mature understanding, yam krodha kama pranaya sahajati bhiti vatsalyamo guru gaurava sevya bhav. How are we going to engage that transcendental energy? But okay, the guru has right to chastise his disciple, right? When he finds something. And he's a fault finder, of course. But you can't become angry against his job of fault finding in his disciple. He does not become fault finder. He is becoming more compassionate, and that's why he has to teach you a little hard way, because he's not supposed to pamper you for your material behavior. So like that. So if you become guru and if you have to chastise your disciple, then yes, for the purpose to make him more Krishna conscious, that will be the starting point. And I don't think it is against the principle that you utilize that. But you can't directly chastise Krishna thinking you are Radharan. No way. That is blind imitation and would not help you advance. Rather, you will become more sentimental and not sensitive to the transcendence. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
All right.
Thank you.
So we can remain in communication, all right?
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Let's
Hare Krishna.
unmute and thank Maharaj with the last Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Haribol
His
Maharaj.
Holiness Vedavyasa Priya Maharaj ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,